I'm very sorry about the delay today. I was just at the meeting and it just ended. It just kept dragging on. Page number 255, please. All right, so page number 255. I'm very sorry, everyone, for the delay. I was in a meeting and it just ended. It just kept dragging on. But all right, so we are here. Page number 255, the occurrence of material phenomena. We've completed the two charts. I hope we have a very clear understanding of the positions of the different sets of Rupa that arises. And I hope that you've taken the time to sort of go through the charts, go over the charts, and for your self-study to aid your further understanding. All right, so page number 255, the occurrence of material phenomena in the sensuous world. All these material phenomena are obtained with no deficiency. According to circumstance, during the course of existence in the sensuous world, right? In the sensuous world. What is it talking about? To just remind ourselves what we are talking about, because we've not dealt with the book for a couple of weeks now. Let us go back to guide to para 22, verse 22, right? To remind ourselves what we are talking about. That is the page before, 254. The 9 groups produced by karma are eye decard, the ear decard, nose decard, tongue decard, body decard, female decard, male decard, heart-based decard, and the vital monad. The 6 groups produced by consciousness are the pure octard, the bodily intimation decard, the vocal intimation decard, the lightness triundicard, the bodily intimation and lightness tridodecard, the vocal intimation, sound and lightness triad tridecard. The 4 groups will be produced by temperature. So the Kammaja, Chittaja, Aharaja, and Utuja Rupas, right? The occurrence of the material phenomena. All these material phenomena are obtained with no deficiency according to circumstance during the existence in the sensuous world. But at rebirth, to moisture-born Utuja beings and to those of spontaneous birth, Opapatika beings, there arise at most the 7 decads. The decads of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sex, and heart base. As a minimum, sometimes the eye, ear, nose, and sex decad are not obtained. Eye, ear, nose, and sex decad are not obtained. This is how deficiencies of material groups should be understood. Should be understood, right? With no deficiency, according to circumstance, during the course of existence, in the sensuous world, they arise. right? They arise. However, to Uttuja, but at rebirth linking to moisture-born beings and to those of spontaneous birth, there arise at most 7 decads: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sex, and heart base. As a minimum, sometimes the eye, ear, nose, and sex decads are not obtained. This is how deficiencies of material groups should be understood. Now, can we remind ourselves, Opapataka we know, Uttuja beings. Who are Uttuja born beings? Anyone? Yes, Noeline, you're trying to say something. You're muted though. Anyone? Noeline, you're not.
Yeah, okay. Is it spontaneous you're talking about, Bhante?
No, Uttuja. Spontaneous is Opapatika.
So what's the one then?
Is moisture-born beings.
And what's the question, Bhante?
Who are the beings who are moisture-born?
Like snails and...
No.
Fish, snails, frogs.
Huh?
I said frogs.
Frogs. Frogs and toads were born from
water.
Or flies and mosquitoes.
Wherever there is moisture, you can get these creatures being born. In moist areas, you get
Mosquitoes.
I said,
their eggs.
you can
Bhante,
get fungus.
that's the very question I had.
But Bhante,
if there's moisture, you can get fungus growing, Bhante.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, wherever there's dirt with moisture.
What kind of beings are we?
yes, what I was going to say, in the womb, you're in water, like, isn't it? Then you come out with no eyes, no.
No. We come from a sperm and an egg, so we are not water moisture born, Bhante.
The scientific discoveries this group is making.
We come from a sperm and an egg.
OMG. Sorry.
Yeah, we are Andaja.
Okay.
We
No,
are.
we are Jalabhuja.
Huh?
We are Jalabhuja.
No.
Bhante,
Yeah.
excuse me, please. I don't know the meaning of the word decad.
Decad
10.
Sorry.
10.
Nonad is 9. Octad is 8.
Decad is 10. Decad, right. Okay, thank you. I got it now.
9.
Yeah. Nonad. Octad is 8.
Octad is 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who will fall under Uttuja beings? Now, what are the 4 types of positions, or rather ways beings are born? There's
Karma born,
karma born,
womb born, moisture born, and spontaneous.
and spontaneous, right? No.
No, karma born is not there.
Karma born is not there.
Sorry, not karma born, moisture born, egg born,
Born,
womb born, and spontaneous.
yes. So then out of which, womb born is then what type of beings do we have? Any being that is born of a mother, a womb, right, would come under womb born, right? If we take eggs, is there a problem with the internet connection? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Bhante, we can hear you.
All right. So then we then have the womb born. What's the other one?
Egg born.
Egg born. Egg born would be what kind of animals or what kind of beings?
Chicken.
Birds.
Birds,
And even snakes.
right? And then moisture born. Who would be moisture born?
Little creatures in the moisture, wherever there's moisture and dirt, you can get little creatures being born.
Flies.
No,
Yeah.
you have to have egg. Bhante, most
The fungus you don't have to.
most likely it's the actually asexual propagation of bacteria and certain microbes.
The fungus, the amoeba, they are the ones.
The
Bhante.
fungus, no. Fungus, you have something called spores. That means it's a tiny little seeds, fungus. But you can buy it actually in the shop, the seeds for fungus, those who grow mushrooms. They sell you seeds.
But the amoeba are like that. The amoeba just single cell things with the, you can't buy them anywhere.
No. Amoeba has got asexual propagation. That means splitting amoeba into two.
Yes, correct.
And so that's why I say actually most likely this is a microscopic animals with asexual propagation. Like probably those who have done biology can remember Chlamydomonas is a unicellular animal as well as a plant they consider, and the propagation is asexual, and it just create another sort of something sometimes called budding, or just adding extra branch and then separating the branch.
So, but Dhamma said that is right. Chlamydomonas is like it is what you're describing. But
yeah,
amoeba is also just like that. You just mentioned that it has something which is that is
asexual.
splitting.
Yeah, asexual. Yeah.
Both sexual. So both of them are the same group.
Yeah, that's right.
When we did botany, we studied them in the same group.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Bhante, what about maggots? Maggots.
Maggots coming from flies. Flies go and lay eggs, and then you get maggots. So it's very difficult question actually, Bhante.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. You may have a good answer to that.
How about the earthworms? How do they come?
Now we are not going to go through the millions of species of the universe. Over this.
Yeah.
Biology class.
Earthworms come together. There are no males and females, but they have genetic structures. They come together, so that they're very different. But as he said, Chlamydomonas and amoeba, they are a different.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
But in the book it says moisture-born beings include certain lowly forms of animal life.
Yeah, so those are lowly forms. That's right. They are lowly forms of animal life.
Yeah.
Lowest.
The first thing you
almost the lowest.
Yeah. Bhante, when you do botany, that's the first thing you learn about first amoeba, then Chlamydomonas, but they're the same group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you come to 2 cells and 3 cells.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where is that page, maybe?
That's the next one.
It's then
Guide to 23.
all right. So then, Then spontaneous Upapathika, spontaneous, they are mostly karma generated, and they are born in those manners because of their previous karmas as well, right?
Bhante, when you say spontaneous birth,
yes.
sorry, Bhante, when you say spontaneous birth, these include beings from the 27 planes, right? Spontaneous birth, that's hell, and the 6 heavens, and 16 fine material and 4 immaterial.
Yes, they're all spontaneous.
Yeah. Then what about the human plane at the beginning of one world cycle?
Spontaneous.
Yeah, so they don't say that here.
They don't say that probably because the definition of what the human realm or the sensuous pleasure plane is, the definition or how we relate to such a plane changed over time. Earlier back in the day, now for example, Kamaloka, the essence of the Kamaloka is true to us, but was not true to the first beings. It only became true to the first beings by their own degenerative qualities, which then manifested over time. Isn't it? Because when we go through the Agana Sutras and Saptasuri Sutras and their respective commentaries, these beings who appeared in the world at the time were beings who lived on Manomaya Sukha or Jhana Sukha, Samadhi Sukha. It is with time that their degenerative qualities such as the hindrances overtook them, and they started getting impulses to then, which then reduced their dependency upon Jnanamaya, Manomaya Sukha, and went into the taste, food specifically, right? And that transition happened at that time. So the same definitions by which we relate to the Kamaloka today do not or did not apply to the first beings back in the day or at the time. I'm sorry. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. Kamaya vidina hinda, kamaya uda jivat vena hinda, kamaya padanam karagana jivat vena hinda Kamalokaya. පළවෙනි මනුස්ස සත්වය හෝ ඒ බ්‍රහ්ම ලෝකේ ඉඳන් ප්‍රතිසන්දී මනුස්ස ලෝකෙට ප්‍රතිසන්දී මනුස්ස ලෝකෙට පත්වන සත්වයෝ ඒ කාලේ භාවනා කරලා ඒ භාවනාමය සැපෙන් තමයි ජීවත් වුනේ. පසු කාලීනව තමයි ඒ සත්වයෝ why you laughing?
No, I'm looking at, because that's what it explained even before food, Bhante. They first the sight came and they saw the milkiness and things, then the smell came and then they went and licked it, and that's how they explained. Yeah, and the taste. So all those senses came.
I thought you're laughing at my Sinhala.
No, your Sinhala is very good, very good. But I'm used to speaking it in English, so I was really entranced by the way you were explaining it in English, but I have read in English because the Agana Sutta explains that exactly the way I say. Yeah. It was that milkiness and the honeyness, they saw it and then they smelled it and then somebody licked it and then they kept on licking it, and their bodies from being Arupa Avachara became Rupa Avachara, and then they became subtle and gross.
And sometimes we do find inception of certain animals also, they say, in locked cupboards and all of these places. But the thing is, locked cupboards where no, not even air gets in, you find sort of spiders or, these very, very small spiders or something. They would say, it might be spontaneous, but, we don't know. We can't say for sure, but something that we know for sure is that the 27 realms are to do with the spontaneous births. Yeah. Yes, Devika.
Okay. Yes, also I learned, when I learned Abhidhamma back in the days from Tata, so he also explained this, how the beings got attached to this taste and they started eating that, and then only the tanha started also, evata alila, kapu evata alila, and then the humans started coming, and then how it started in our world.
Yes. Yeah. So earlier we did not even have a digestive system or none of that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyways, so coming back to the topic today. Right. So to all those material phenomena are obtained with no deficiency according to the circumstance during the course of existence in the sensuous world, but at rebirth linking to moisture beings and those of spontaneous birth, they arise at most 7 decades, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sex, and heart base. And as a minimum, sometimes eye, ear, nose, and sex decades are not obtained. Now, with the moisture, think of the asexual sort of beings, right? Eye, ear, nose, and sex decades are not obtained sometimes, right? Are not obtained sometimes, and this can be true to both Upapathika beings and Utuja. I'm sorry, because of moisture-born beings as well, right? To the womb-born creatures, they arise at rebirth 3 decades. The decades of body, sex, and heart base, right? Body, sex, and heart base. What is the Pali word for this? Does anyone remember?
Kaya Vastu Bhava.
Right. Kaya Vattu Bhava. Right? In Sinhala, Vattu, they say Vastu, right? But it is Vattu in Pali. Kaya Vatti Bhava. Sometimes, however, the sex decade is not obtained. Thereafter, during the course of existence, gradually there arise the eye decade and so forth, right? The eye decade and so forth. Now, I asked Venerable Sudasi about the heart base, and what Venerable Sudasi mentioned, the body, sex, and the heart base, what Venerable Sudasi mentioned was the heart base, or the notion of the arising of the heart base, sex, and body should not be taken in the same way that we see the heart base and body, heart, body, and sex, right? Because these are essentially essences of foundational pillars or even fragments of being that allow the maturation of those physical attributes which we see. But these specific terms within the rupas are referring to essences which allow that growth to happen, right? More like, the bacteria which gives rise to the mushrooms, isn't it? Right? Now, and so forth. Page 256, guide to verse 23. The present section deals with the manner in which these material groups come into being at the moment of conception. The present section deals with the manner in which these material groups come into being at the moment of conception. At the moment of conception. During the course of existence and in different realms. During the course of existence and in different realms. According to Buddhism, there are 4 kinds of birth, namely egg-born beings, Andaja, womb-born beings, Jalabhuja, moisture-born beings, Samsedaja, and beings having spontaneous birth, Upapathika, right? Moisture-born beings include certain lowly forms of animal life, right? Moisture-born beings include certain lowly forms of animal life. Beings having a spontaneous birth are generally invisible to the physical eye, right? Are invisible to the physically eye. Petas and devas usually belong to this class. By the mention of womb-born creatures in the text, egg-born beings are also implicitly included, right? Included. Any questions? Okay, right. Continuity of occurrence. Thus, the continuity of material groups, produced in 4 ways, namely, karma born from the time of rebirth thinking. Now remember, the continuity of material groups, right? The continuity aspect is important for a material to become what it is and to truly show the form that it is conditioned to be. Thus, the continuity of material groups produced in 4 ways, namely, karma born from the time of rebirth linking, consciousness born from the second moment of consciousness, temperature born from the time of the stage of presence, nutrition born from the time of diffusion of nutritive essence, uninterruptedly flows on in the sense sphere till the end of life, like a lamp or the stream of a river, like a lamp, like a flame of a lamp or the stream of a river, just flows, right? Is that understood? Right? The different phases that we go through from the moment of Patisandhi, where the karma born, kammaja, chitta, the utuja, the ahara, utuja, ahara rupas come into play at their specific times, allowing this being to continue, right? That flow itself ensures the continuity of the identity carried in from the time of inception through the Patisandhi process, right? Through the Patisandhi process. Through the Patisandhi process. When we come into this sort of area, even things like destiny are often reflected in this means. But the thing is, in consciousness, the axles of destiny are far more varied than physicality, because physicality is far more gross than the metaphysical or than the mind, right? So for example, within this birth, the potential of a being becoming, let's say for me, to transform into a dog is next to impossible, right? Next to impossible. But for the mind, that potential is there beyond this body. The axis, right? If we would take a spectrum of mind and the traveling of that spectrum, the mind has its axis and the body has its axis. The body's continuity in that way is ensured through these processes, for example, like the Tejo Dhatu, which allows the maturation or the maturative process of the mind to be carried forward, right? Whilst as the rest, whilst in the mind, for example, the axes, when it comes to the axes, the mind, the potential is not completely absent, but at this moment, the potential can be absent, right? But not completely, meaning the mind can transform into that unprecedented level, but at this moment, if focused, if present within that moment with something which is, if seasoned by Dhamma or whatnot, that potential of reaching a state unprecedented, whether good or bad, right? In this case, if I might take bad, would be removed or the potential is reduced. That is what the Buddha says about then destiny, astrology, and all of these things, because that is where the Buddha comes in to say, being present over the decisions made in the present, living with awareness is the most powerful tool and far more powerful than any one of these sort of physical hindrances and disturbances that might come. The more the axis of the mind is based upon the axis of the body, the closer these two comes, right? That is where we suffer with the times. The axis of the mind must exist while in a state of awareness. It must also exist separately from the body. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Because, or else, if the body is in pain, the mind suffers if it is together. But with the sense of awareness, the mind can be aware of the body suffering, but the mind can maintain a state of, I won't say tranquility, but maintain a state of resilience, which doesn't lead to sadness or any of the other negativities which could arise otherwise. Right? So that basis, spectrum, and axis, when we put that into, when we think about that, we come into this, even with this specific paragraph, what we speak about, or the potential of that destiny within man. Yes, dear.
Bhante, is this why it is so important when we do Vipassana, that Nama Rupa Paricheda, that difference in about Vedana, that we have to look at that separation between what is coming from the mind materiality and what is coming from corporality mentality. That difference is so important, because otherwise if the axes are together, is that why that is so important at the beginning? To, like when you were explaining in meditation also, that whether the Chitta and Vedananupassana and Chitta Anupassana, sometimes if the pain comes first and it's the physicality, and then the mind dislikes it, or the other way. So that differentiation, because otherwise if the two are going together, it's difficult for the mind to act with the enormous potential attached, because if it is always attached to the body, then it's difficult to have the change in genealogy, because the mind must be seen more separately. Is that why that is important? Yeah.
Yes, of course, because at the end, the path to Nibbana is not based upon anything which is physicality, right? Or the conditions of mind. Hence, we see this process happening again and again, and being able to differentiate between the processes as it happens becomes a skill of the person who is aware, isn't it? Then, yeah? All right, coming back. The continuity of material groups produced in 4 names, namely karma born from the time of rebirth linking, consciousness born from the second moment of consciousness, temperature born from the time of the stage of presence, nutriment born from the time of diffusion of the nutritive essence, uninterruptedly flows on in the sense sphere till the end of life, like the flame of a lamp of the stream of a river, at the time of death. But at the time of death, karma-born material phenomena no longer arises, starting with the stage of presence of the 17th consciousness preceding the death consciousness. We've done this before, isn't it? Right? We've gone through the Chuti Chitta Viti, right?
Yeah.
Preceding the death consciousness. Karma-born material phenomena that arose earlier occur till the death moment and then cease. Karma-born material phenomena that arose earlier occur till the death moment and then cease. Following that, the consciousness born and nutriment born, consciousness born and the nutriment born material phenomena come to cessation. Thereafter, a continuity of material qualities produced by the temperature. Thereafter, a continuity of material qualities produced by temperature persists in a form of the corpse. Before we proceed, I've always wanted to ask a doctor this question. Have you ever watched the eyes of a person as he died? When a person dies, right, a process happens within the eyes where you see, isn't it? Have you ever taken keen interest to observe this? Right, because there is this Buddhist who is also a doctor. He's a very well-known Buddhist, and at this seminar, he was talking about this, and I found it quite creepy, I found it quite psychopathic, I was like, because one of my other friends who is a very sort of, highly qualified Jungian analysis told, that is a very nasty, that guy is a passive-aggressive narcissistic. But, it was very odd to me that this doctor would watch. This was in Africa where he was sort of helping, and he used to watch people die. And I found it very weird. Coming back. So good to know that there were no creeps here. All right.
Bhante, excuse me, Bhante.
Yes.
I am not a doctor, but I saw my mom dying and how her eyes closed gradually. I was watching that with no knowledge of anything. Process was so calm, it just closed, which I saw.
Well, this is not about, I wasn't speaking specifically about the eyes closing, Sujata. This in the retina. You observe very closely as a person, sort of the light going out of the person's eyes, that moment, there is something which happened, which I'm also not clear of, and this specific doctor, who is also this Buddhist master, he was observing that, watchfully with some sort of apparatus, and for very sort of, for his keen interest. And he used to do this, and he was speaking about that. I was speaking about that, not about the eyes just closing,
I know. Thank you, doctor. It's okay. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the at the moment of death, what happens to the eye, the pupils don't react to light. When you when you confirm the death of a person, the right patient not breathing, this, that, and in the end you have to write, the pupils are not reacting to light. You shine a light on the pupil and it doesn't respond. You have to make a note of that. It's important. It's one of the things that confirms the death.
Okay. Whether it doesn't react to the light.
It doesn't react. You have to make a note of it. The eye doesn't react to light.
Okay.
And then you have to write death confirmed.
Yeah. Bhante, what you mean by reacting is normally when a bright light is shown, the pupil will constrict, right? But here it won't, because that's why you say that it doesn't react to light. Normally when you have a bright light, automatically the eye will shut because there's too much light going. But a dead person's eye, that reflex doesn't happen. That's why Mala is saying and you have to write that.
Okay. All right. But at the time of death, karma-born material phenomena no longer arise, starting with the stage of presence of the 17th consciousness preceding the death consciousness. Karma-born material phenomena arose earlier, occur till the death moment, and then cease. Following that, the consciousness born and the nutriment-born material phenomena come to cessation. Thereafter, the continuity of material qualities produced by temperature persists in the form of a corpse, right? I remember there being a question a couple months back when we were doing the Chuti processes. There was a question where, the bloating, what is it then if no new material groups are being produced? What is the bloating? What happens in that level, at that stage, after death? There you have it. It is a form of Uttu that precedes within or through the corpse, right? But here, what the Uttu does, is it manipulates the already existing rupas, right? Already existing rupas by the fact of Uttu alone, right? So the more that it goes, the decomposition process itself is what is projected through that process, because it does not have the support of the rest. The predominant support here is only the Uttu. Do you understand? Now, when we spoke about the Rupa, Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu, Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu existing together holds the Rupa, its form, its ability to be in place, isn't it? Right? That is the process of the Jivita Indriya. Right? That is the process of the Jivita Indriya. Now, when this Jivita Indriya part is now missing, now there is nothing to keep the balance of the Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu. Now the balance only exists or is maintained by the solidity, the Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu currently present at the moment of death. Owing not to kamma, not to ahara, not to kamma, ahara, chitta, not to these three, but wholly owing to the Uttu attribute, or predominantly by the Uttu attribute. But the Uttu persists. The Uttu persists depending on the environment that the corpse is in. Right? Depending on the environment that the corpse is in. It is almost as if, for example, the ancient mummification, the mummification, the self-mummification of the Tibetan monks, because of the dryness and the other things that they fill the box up with, as they the monks stay in a meditative posture, they are buried alive in a box as they go into meditation, because of the way that they have wrapped themselves, the other materials they put into the box, the dryness of it itself mummifies the body. But that would be different if it was at another level or at another environment. Right? If it was in a rainforest, it would have been quite different. Right? We do not see self-mummified monks in rainforests. We see self-mummified monks in Tibet, which is a very dry region. Right? That is wholly then dependent upon that environment the corpse is in, for example, with the mummification, the drying up of the corpse. Right? And you see a very similar thing in Burma as well with the mummified monks there, who are of the Theravada tradition. Right? So, is that understood? I think this question came some time ago as well. It is another form of Uttuja Rupa. Right? Not the production of more Rupas. Okay? Now, verse. Thus, to the diseased beings, again in a subsequent life, material phenomena arise, starting from rebirth linking in the same way. Starting with rebirth linking in the same way. Fine material world. In the fine material world, the decads of nose, tongue, body, sex, and the material groups produced by nutriment are not found. In the fine material world, the decads of nose, tongue, body, sex, and the material groups produced by nutriment are not found. Therefore, to those beings at the time of rebirth linking, there arise four material groups produced by karma. The three decads of eye, ear, and heart base. and vital nonad, and the vital nonad. During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by consciousness and by temperature are found. During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by consciousness and temperature are found. Let's read that again. In the fine material world, the decards of nose, tongue, body, sex, and the material groups produced by nutriment are not found. Therefore, to those beings, at the time of rebirth linking, there arise 4 material groups produced by karma. The 3 decards of eye, ear, and the heart base. The vital nonad and the vital nonad. During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by consciousness and by temperature is found. Can someone explain? Noeli, want to try?
What's the question, Bhante?
Well, can you explain that? Can you make it more sense to us?
Sorry, I can't understand the question, Bhante.
The question is become the teacher, basically. The break. Why does the nose, tongue, body, sex, and material groups produced by nutriment, why are they not found in the fine material?
Bhante, because the bodies are very subtle. You don't have physicality like how in the fine material. It's very subtle. They are not like the devas in the Kama. So these things are all part of the material. They're the part of the material, the hard base. So that's why they're not found, because it's so fine. In the fine material,
so
you don't have a body like that material with all the sense organs.
Even if it is fine, still there's a body, no?
Yeah, but sense organs are not so.
Yes, Namsiri?
I think it's because of the you got rid of Kamaraga, and because you got rid of Kamaraga, so these sensitivities are not found in Rupa Loka, right? And in Samya, I read that one actually. So it's not completely eradicated, your Kamaraga, but when you do the your meditation and things like that, and you gradually reduce the Kamaraga, and then the reason is then you don't have a nutriment factor, and you don't have body feeling, you don't have taste, and you don't have smell
and sight.
Okay.
The sense organs, the sight.
Yeah. The sight and
sight,
the hearing will be there, because you did not really completely eradicate the Kamaraga.
Yes. And what about the nutriment?
It's again the enjoyment, nutriments, because when you have, instead of nutriments, then you have energy coming from Preeti.
Yeah. Because here the sustenance of that body, that subtle body, happens through Preeti, the Samadhi.
Yeah.
So they do
not through all the sense organs and what you see.
Yeah.
Because the bodies are so subtle, Bhante.
Yeah. The 3 decards of eye, ear, and heart base, and the vital nonad. During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by consciousness and temperature are found. Guide to Para, verse 27. The beings in the fine material realms, being asexual, lack the 2 decards of sex. And though they possess the physical forms of nose, tongue, and body, these organs are destitute of sense receptivity, right? Are destitute of sense receptivity, right? Among now also something to remind, from the sutras, these bodies are also those with great amount of beauty and lustre, right? Because these bodies are fully and wholly a manifestation of the mental powers within these beings, right? Within these beings. Now, whilst all these beings might be those who live dependent upon this mental power and fruit, if I may say fruit, not all beings are receptive or work towards enlightenment as well, right? It is only a portion of those beings who would then be beings who work towards enlightenment. But those who do would also be able to attain enlightenment rather fast, should they be able to let go of their current practices and attitudes of mind. So the same views of dipti, mana, all of that also applies to these beings, right? These beings. Okay. Right.
Sir. So they are not beings who will be in asanya satta, only in rupavachara, arupavachara loka, is it? This type of beings?
Rupa loka, asanya satta also belongs within it.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Among non-percipient beings, right? Among the non-percipient beings, asanya satta, the eye, ear, heart base, and sound are also not found, right? Among the non-percipient beings, the eye, ear, heart base, and sound are also not found. Now, this again gives us further a bit more to then understand how these beings sort of are. Heart base, they don't even have a heart base, the seat of mind. Right? To further then sort of give us the idea that was sort of established from the earlier chapters, that mind doesn't exist in this plane in any level or form. Right? Heart base and sound, right, are not found. Now, when we say heart base is not there, anusaya and kamma is there. That gives us then another way of viewing the connection between chitta, anusaya, and kamma. Right? Just to add into your bank of data and to sort of facilitate your understanding about that relationship. Heart base does not exist. And sound are also not found. Similarly, no consciousness born material phenomena are found. Therefore, at the moment of their rebirth linking, only the vital nonads arise. Only the vital nonads arise. Only the vital nonads arise. Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Oja is there, yeah? Yeah, Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Right? But only the vital nonads arises. During the course of...
Bhante?
Yeah.
Vital nonad is actually plus Jivitendriya.
Yeah. Because that's right, because it's 8 and 1. The Sudrashtaka plus that Jivitendra. That's why it becomes 9. Nonad.
Sure. Nonad 9. Plus Jivitendriya.
Yeah.
During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by so if it is a nonad, right, then that answers the question of, okay, without a consciousness, how does then the body formation of the being continue to the long duration that it does within the Asana and Sattva plane, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Right? Because in the vital non-art, what we spoke about with regards to the Jivitindriya, the duty of the Jivitindriya is the maintenance and the continuity of the physicality. Because of karma here, that power of physicality, that continuation of physicality is far more powerful than it is in the Kama Loka. Right? Far more than it is in the Kama Loka. And also, because the object of that sphere of being is also different from the Kama Loka, the manipulation of the Rupas would also be lesser in comparison to the manipulation of Rupa which happens in the Kama Loka. Do you understand what I mean? Now, in the Kama Loka, it is through the manipulation of the Rupas that we live our human experience. Whether it be good, bad, pleasurable, or painful, the human experience itself is brought about by the manipulation of the Rupas. Rupati, Rupa, right? This manipulation of the Rupas gives us the Vedanas and all of that which forms, we get an idea of the environment that we live in. Right? It gives us an example of the environment, feel of the environment that we live in. That is because the agenda of physicality that arises within this plane is different to the agenda of physicality that arises in the fine material. Because the conditions that govern those physicalities are definitely going to be different to the conditions that govern the physicality here. For example, the physicality of the hells is so much so. Now, for example, if I am to jump into a pile of fire, I'm sorry, pile of fire, what is that? Right. If I'm going to jump into, some sort of, fiery sort of pot or whatever it is, I will get burnt, right? So much so that I might die. In the hells, you don't die. The Rupa within the hells is so much so that it will repair itself, heal so much faster than it does within this plane. The laws that govern the Rupas then in those conditions or conditions present in those areas would be different to the conditions present here. Right? To the conditions present. It is almost as if, the fish who live very close to the molten, to the hot earth beneath the waters, right? The organisms that live within, closer to the molten core that they have discovered. Of course, they haven't gone so deep, but they discover that there are organisms that can survive in very hot temperatures, in temperatures that we will not be able to survive. But still there are organisms that do survive, right? Organisms that do survive. In the same manner, the conditions that those organisms have as their strength or whatever it is, supports them to survive in those positions. Now we will be unable to survive without the proper equipment down in the Mariana Trench. But there are fish that survive in the Mariana Trench, right? Same thing. The strength, the composition of these beings are different, but they are physicality. They are of the world, The same thing or similar way we could understand those beings in the divine realms and the hellish realms, right? And the hellish realms. There is a hell that is so icy cold, right? That the moment that they sort of drop out of the wall that they cling on to, like bats on a wall, right? They drop into an abyss and shatter into pieces, right? Now, in the same way, those organisms might be different in their composition, but still Rupa. But the structure of those Rupas are different. So it is not mystical, it is just different. It is not mystical, it is just simply different. Okay.
And Bhante, is that why the fish who live like in the Mariana Trench are very deep? They are phosphorescent, they are luminous, and they are transparent, and sometimes only like the skeleton, like it's not skeleton bone, but only that is seen. So they are very different to the fish we see.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, they are phosphorescent.
Scary looking as well.
Yeah, they look very scary as well. Yes, Bhante.
Yeah. Interesting world.
Interesting because we never think of comparing that and the Deva word, like in the Mangala Sutta, they say when the Deva came to ask Bhante all those Mangala Karma, it was a shaft of light that came, right? It wasn't a point to the beam of light because they are so luminous, isn't it? They said little radiance and a lot of radiance, and those levels in the Rupa Vachara world, including the Asanasa, those 16 realms, right? They say it was the beam of light that fell in the Mangala Sutta when the Buddha was sitting, and that's how it was, and that was the Deva. Interesting, but I've never ever thought of comparing those words with the words of like the fish in the deep sea and in the apayas. Very interesting, Bhante.
Yeah. All right. Not percipient. Right. Summary. Thus, in the
Bhante, there's some interesting point missing. The last line.
Okay. Okay, I did not. During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by temperature, with the exception of
sound.
During the course of existence, material phenomena produced by temperature, with the exception. With the exception of sound. Okay.
Yeah. Bhante, in other words, it's only not vital nonad actually. There's temperature actually. What's the word for that one? Shuddhastaka, vital nonad, and vital nonad of the temperature. Not vital nonad. Shuddhastaka, pure nonad, pure octad of the temperature, and pure octad of the lightness triad. Not octad. This is lightness triad is onedecad. Also exist in the Sanya Satta, non-percipient existence.
Tell that again, please.
The temperature group, out of temperature group, it says the material phenomena produced by temperature can exist. Out of that, actually, two groups can exist, which is one is the Shuddhastaka, temperature Shuddhastaka. Other one is the lightness tried uni-decade.
Lightness tried undicard.
Undicard, yeah. Because somewhere in this text they say that altogether there are 17 material phenomena in the Asanya Satta.
17 material phenomena in the Asana Satta.
Yeah, and 17 comes because you have Shuddhastaka 8, and then you have what are the other one? Shuddhastaka, lightness triad.
The 4 characteristics of material phenomena.
Yeah, yeah.
And the 3 lightness triad and space.
And space.
Lightness triad and space.
Yeah.
That's 17.
That's as elements, as Rupa elements.
Okay.
And so, in other words, actually, in the Asanya Satta, you have 3 types of Rupa Kalapas.
The 3 are?
3 are the vital nonad, the temperature Shuddhastaka,
okay,
and the lightness triad dodecad.
Lightness triad dodecad.
Yeah, dodecad.
Lightness triad dodecad. Okay.
Yeah. Because what they say is actually lightness triad can also exist in the Asanya Satta.
Yeah. Okay. But
Unidecad. It's not dodecad, it's unidecad. It's 11.
Jivita nonad.
Undicard.
Undicard.
Yeah, undicard, yeah.
The lightness. So this one, the sound mutability dodecad, mutability undicard, the temperature bond. Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu, Vannagandha Rasa Ocha,
Jivitendriya.
Jivitendriya, and Lahuta Multa
Kammanita. Name. Yeah.
Well, high. 12. 12.
870. What is it? But okay. I had to ask my friend, how did you get 17 Mala?
Mala is your friend or wife?
You get 17
because the 4 characteristics of material phenomena, 3 lightness triad and space. That adds up to 17.
Again, Mala. Again. I'm sorry. Again, Noili.
It's the 9. We take the vital nonad, that's 9 there. And characteristics of material phenomena, that's 4. Lightness triad is 3. And space.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All of them. Yeah, that is 17.
All of them together. So the possibility of Rupa.
Yeah, yeah.
Total, that's the total.
Yeah.
Okay, the possibilities of Rupa are in total 17.
17 years, yes.
15. 15.
Where was that, Damsiri?
Bhante, in Asanyatale, non-percipient beings, at the time of Patisandhi, they get only the vital nonad, the 9. And during the course of existence, they get some more kalapas, temperature born, and the other two kalapas. The first one is the lightness triad unidecad, which is Lahuta Mudita Kammanyuta, and they get 4 more, the Lakshana Rupa, the 4 characteristics. So Patisandhi is different. Patisandhi only the vital nonad, and during the course of existence they get.
I think it's very interesting because the fact that the Lahuta Mudita Kammanyuta is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So very much organic forms without the mind.
That's right. Yeah.
But however, lifeless in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't even say life. I mean, depends on how we would define life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Occurrence.
All right.
Yeah. The other thing is, Bhante, the function of the Jivitendriya is to coordinate and collect these total 17 rupas and the 3 rupa kalapas. So instead of, even though you don't have life, or life as we call it, but there's life, which is sign of life, which actually coordinate all the rupas together.
The Tejo Dhatu.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Tejo Dhatu is the manifestation of the Jivitendriya, and its activity as we can't say it's a gender because it's a lifeless process.
Yeah.
The condition as well, just like light travels or sound travels, it is a lifeless process. There is no life in it. However, it is the way it behaves, right? The behavior of that process, the behavior of that essence, however we would define it, and that behavior, as much as it is rooted in sort of continuity, the process of continuity essentially happens through the Tejo Dhatu collectively bringing together these different parts of the Rupa, holding it together in a way. And the Tejo is what keeps the continuity running and going, really. The Tejo, right? That is the duty, the responsibility. We can't say responsibility, but that is what Jivitendriya does as a phenomenon. Yes, Devika, I can see that you're struggling to say something over there.
I don't want to be in Asanyasatta. I'll rather be in human form and attain Nibbana. If you're going to be in a lifeless, I mean, I don't know, can you get out of Asanyasatta and attain Nibbana?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to mention that. I'm thinking, oh my God, if this is what is there in that realm.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you won't even know that you're in Asanyasatta, so, who really cares?
Yes, that's right.
It is only sort of looked down upon as a state because the world changes so much over the time that a person is in Asanyasatta, because 500,000, isn't it? 500,000, how 500,000, what's the measurement? 500,000 eons? No, eons, yeah? Damsiri?
Yes, 500,000 eons. By the time when you come back, we all are going to the even the cat here in our house will be achieve Nibbana. Yeah.
Exactly.
So don't try.
No, I don't want to go there. That's what I said.
All right. So let's just
Bhante, just to think back. So when you say 500 MKs, that is 500 Mahakalpas, no? When you in Asanyasatta, you're supposed to be 500 MKs. That is, MK is a Mahakalpa.
I'll have to check that for you, or if anyone.
Yeah. Because that's the way that when we were told that we have been told it, they did MK. So I think MK is a Mahakal. Asanatana, so that might be 500,000, I don't know. But it's 500 MK. That how much it is? There's a Kalpa and then there are Mahakalpa, isn't it? And the other thing I wanted to check with you, Bhante, clarify for myself, is that always it did Jivitindriya. That's what you said, even when you go in, when you're meditating and you go to the deep states, that, you're still alive, but the heart rate, everything is not there. And the breathing is not there. But the one thing that is there is your consciousness is very pure. And the second thing is that your temperature is there. Your warmth is there. And when you die, that's what goes. So I couldn't understand when you were doing before something about a corpse and about that, the why it gets bloated, the warmth remains. I thought that temperature was the thing that differentiated between when you get into deep states of meditation, and some people are rushed to hospital and all because the heart is not beating and you're breathing, but the conscious is very alert, and temperature, that Utuja is there. So why are we saying that when you're a corpse, that there is some temperature that makes bloating and all happen? Isn't that the difference between the Jivitindriya and being dead? That temperature. Why am I getting it all wrong, Bhante?
No, the Jivitindriya Tejo is from other Tejo.
Okay.
Jivitindriya Tejo is different from the other Tejo in the sense that is where Jivitindriya Tejo also has a sense of continuity, while the Tejo that we might find around us does not have a sense other than being Tejo. Right? Do you understand? Like, for example, within the Suddhashtakas, the octave, your octave, we really can't say vital nonad plus ahara or vital nonad plus, although we might just say that for the ease of memorization, it is not the vital nonad plus this or that. It is an entirely, completely different other entity. Right? But of course, for the sake of, being, struggling students, we might say vital nonad plus this or vital nonad plus that. It's not the vital nonad plus that. It's a completely different ethic of phenomena. Right? It's a different condition of phenomena. Because, for example, let's say the ahara, right? The ahara rupas, now they are able to create, right, manifest more aharas, newer nutrition-based rupas as they arise. Now, if we say Suddhashtaka plus this, other Suddhashtakas are not able to do that. Right? They are independent phenomena who have their own conditional values. It is like water has a boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius. Oil has a different boiling point. They're both liquid though. They're both liquid. They both flow, right? They're both edible as well, right? However, their qualities as a phenomena is different. Their values as a phenomena is different, right? It's like petrol and diesel. Both of them are oils, mineral extract, but their properties are different. What they do is different. How they do it is different. But they can be classed as fuel. Right? Their properties are different. So in the same way, Tejo is not the same as Jivitindriya. However, Jivitindriya has a Tejo which acts in this way. Do you understand? Right? So if we are taking, for example, the mutability undicard, the mutability indicard and the components of Pataviya Tejo Vannagandha Rasa Oja in the mutability undicard is different from the consciousness Chitta Rupa Dodicard. Entirely different values, different qualities, right? For the sake of memorization, we might say this plus that or this plus, but do not confuse yourself to believe that they are the same things with addition of other phenomena with them. It's not. Right? It's not. Okay? Good talk.
Bhante, can I add something about Devika's statement?
Yes.
Bhante Dinalankar in one of his sermons said that this Asanyatali of the non-percipient level is an abhavyasthanaya. That is a place which has no value. You are there for 500 years and you don't get anything. So he mentions it's an abhavyasthanaya, which has no value.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was Devika's benefit.
There's no value. Yeah. True. True.
Why does anybody want to go there? Make an intention like that.
Maybe for a holiday.
like how, you know, somebody went to space just now, right, for a holiday.
Some might ask, why would anyone eat acharu? But people
do. because you don't just go there, you have to intend and do all those things, isn't it? Like the jhanas, you don't just go there. You have to intend, isn't it, Bhante? You just go there?
Well, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
It is a position of mental concentration which allows you to go into a specific state of asannasatta with coming by through viraga. Right? It's not all beings who end up in asannasatta go there thinking I want to go into asannasatta. Right? Remember that all beings, beings who are there might not even have seen Buddhas, right? Okay. Before they sort of, they might have attained through different sort of spiritual traditions. It is very much possible. So beings who, in the state of viraga, with that jhanic absorption, are the beings who go to this state.
Viraga meaning dispassion. Yeah.
Right. So dispassion over consciousness specifically. Right. Dispassion over consciousness. That is what gives rise to. So at that moment, when person does not see beyond that state as yet, right? That state is the highest and the most profoundly blissful experience he's ever had in his life. So it would be normal that then that being would think, okay, this is the state that I want to be in, because he hasn't seen beyond that at that point. Right now, there was a asannasatta being who was born as a monk, asannasatta being who was born as a monk and but also had his whole share of hindrances and all of that, right? So I mean, these beings are also not sort of free of the hindrances. However, at that point of time, they seized the mental state that they were attracted to, because that was where their passion, their bliss was coming from. Like,
Bhante, it looks like that these are not beings who have either seen a Buddha or even heard a Dhamma. Now we haven't seen a Buddha, but we have the Dhamma. So they haven't practiced the Noble Eightfold Path. So they haven't become like stream interest or anywhere on the Magga and the Pada. These must be like the Hindus or I don't know, Vedanta people who are just who have before the Buddha's time, who have been meditating and meditating and gone into all those jhanas without any of those knowledge of the Dhamma.
No, we will also go into the same jhanas, right? We will also go into the same jhanas. But the thing is, if we go through the samadhi route, we will also go through the same jhanas with chitta viraga, right? But the question is at that time, whether we cling on to, or, at that time, at that moment of experience, when the experience seems like a very profound, and it is a profound experience, right? Then a person would think naturally that this is the experience that I want, right? And it would be, how many monks live with jhana and live years and jhana. Why are they doing that? Because that experience is quite a pleasurable experience. It's not because they don't know the Dhamma, but sometimes bring your mind into a state where they let go of the jhana and go beyond it can also be a journey. Like all of us are attached to material. The lowest of all pleasures. The lowest of all pleasures. So the chitta viraga, we would ask you then why you right. So it is, I think it is just that state of mind, isn't it? It's what you're attached to at that moment. All right. So it's 10 minutes past. Take care. Good night. I will see you all on Wednesday. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bhante.